It's an experience. You're on the mountains and it's skiing. There's more passion in that product. People love it. People ski.
The lifestyle.
I ski with a guy that was in his 90s. And it's one of those things you can do forever, right? And when you're around that type of environment, that type of culture, it creates a different type of leadership, because any decision I make that could affect what they love, like a mountain.
Welcome to the Attorneys on Accident podcast with your hosts, Joe Wirth and Ash Blackburn. We are here with our guest, Davy Ratchford. Davy is the CEO of Snowbasin in Utah. And that resort, what did it win last year, Davy?
#1 in the country.
And that's a real award.
It is a real award. It was.
There's plenty of fake ones out there.
Self-proclaim it. Who's going to deny it? It was a real award. Yeah, incredibly proud of the team.
Okay, and so you've been at Snowbasin for how many years?
7.
When you started, what were they ranked?
They weren't in the rankings. Yeah.
Okay.
So the rankings, it's like I said before, it's like a popularity contest, right? It's a couple of different. There's Ski Magazine, USA Today, and another one that's kind of like, what's the best ski resort this year? What had the best experience? And you're up against the Aspens and the Vales and the amazing places out there. And Snowbasin up in Utah was ranked #1. So I mean, you definitely find above our weight, but I think it's because we over time developed a great culture, and everybody's kind of clicking in the one direction, and people recognized it.
And we talked a little bit before the podcast, and Ash, one of my pet peeves, and you guys were quick to kind of nod and go yes, was you start listening to a podcast and they start talking about the parties that they went to, and it's like, I want to get in, I'm dropping into a podcast to learn, right? I'm there to listen and to learn. So before we go too far down your road and your journey, I do want people to understand why they want to stick around. And that's because I've seen your rise in leadership from, working at Famous Footwear, right? And they're trying to make you a manager at 21. And I've seen you climb that ladder in life to now being over 1,200 employees at Snowbasin, this #1 ski resort in the country, where the Olympics have been, they're going to be again.
Giving TED Talks. And so what Davy is going to distill upon you, I promise, I'm putting my own personal, and Ash will too, guarantee that you will come away and want to take notes and re-listen to this episode, because Davy has some amazing wisdom and insights to share about leadership, about how to be fluid and not rigid when working your way up your career, that career ladder. I think Davy is going to have a hard time with some of the praise that we heap on him, but I've asked him to just sit in it and just, take it and really just share everything that you've learned up until this point. How old are you now?
47.
So at 47, and when you got hired, you were hired as the GM of Snowbasin, is that right? And how old were you?
Yeah, 40.
Pretty young, I remember. Yeah.
Definitely for those roles, right? Those bigger roles and that. But I get, to your point, I hope this format's fascinating to me, right? Because you can get to dive in deep into a person with each other and where we, how we all operate and tick. But I hope that people leave with some sort of relatable, connected piece, right? Just even an element on it, that might connect the dots, because I think it is a relatable story. I think it's pretty simple. I didn't do anything incredible or amazing. It's more the day-to-day practicalities of our life, and
but you're bald. You've overcome that, right?
I embraced it, which is a part of it. Like, well, I am who I am. Like, I just you did not embrace it. You did whatever you could to keep that hair.
Something that I want to ask that I think is so important to the story that you're going to tell, but also why you're sitting in that chair, is Joe knows so many people. I mean, it's crazy how many people he can connect with. And over the decade that I've known him, he will consistently say, other than his wife and his kids, you are his absolute favorite person walking the earth. So I want to know, why is Davy your favorite person?
I think it's just because I had that. I don't think it's any different than if you were to, be friends with Leonardo DiCaprio when he's before he becomes famous, and then watching it and kind of just like sitting back and going like, now he's the A-list actor that everybody loves and looks to. Like, I see that in Davy in terms of like business and climbing the ladder, but doing it in a way that, like sometimes you hear climbing the ladder, like it was natural. Like he wouldn't go somewhere and then just leave after he got what he wanted.
Stepping on people to get
there.
Well,
right, exactly. He wasn't stepping on people to get there, and he would go there and come in with this attitude of, I'm here to learn, I'm here to serve,
And he was ahead of his time, I believe, with what all of the Simon Sinek's and these Arthur Brooks and these great leaders now is kind of common knowledge if you want to find those answers, right? I think you were ahead of the curve in terms of understanding that, like, no, like if I can take my ego and remove me from this and just come in and add value, the world will reward me and people will see it. And I don't need to be, hey, look, did you see what I did? Did you see that I was shoveling the snow path before anybody got to work, right? So it's been remarkable and it's been amazing. And I want to jump right into it and have Ash ask you about a story that we were talking about at dinner. And then we can kind of come back to you coming from Ireland, being an immigrant, having that not chip, but like a bag of chips or a bowl of chips on your shoulder. You're down to maybe like crisps. Yeah, they're called crisps. But yeah, maybe now there's only one left. But you definitely had a chip on your shoulder and used that to motivate you. And I'm sure you've gotten some healthier ways to motivate you now. But Ash, I want you to ask him about that story.
So in talking to you, mentorship is a big reason, right, why you made your way here. But you had somewhat of a aggressive mentor, talking about fast and slow. And it's definitely something that I want to bring into my leadership style, both learning the lessons of not being so critical, but also holding people to a standard. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, and I think the basic principle of that is what you really are looking for is what's the end journey for that person? Like where do you see they could go, right? And then working with them in their way, the best way they can absorb it to get them there. So I had just joined the ski industry. I had been recruited into it and, didn't grow up skiing from Ireland, didn't happen. So I go to this place and I'm learning, and I had this boss within the first 4 days, and it was a heavily recruited type thing, and he brought me in. He goes, listen, obviously you're talented, obviously you're here, but he's like, my question to you is like, do you want to get better fast or slow? Like there's a path, you can choose what that might be. And I said fast because who says slow? And like, do you think the slow? And but you should really think about that question. Like with your leader, don't always, because the reality is you can manage person a certain way. You can manage them in a fast way, and you can manage them in a slow way. It's the end result that you're trying to get to, right? But that requires you as the leader to choose, help them choose, right? And be worthy of that. But I said fast, and so he's like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm ready. And he's like, go home and change. You look like garbage right now. And he's like, that's fast. And then that just continued for 2 years, and I absorbed it and I wanted it. And
well, let me interrupt. Didn't you walk out of there and he said, hey, stand up straight, pull your shoulder
well,
back?
that was another one. He saw me walking across. It was, snow, ski. It was freezing, and I was walking across the plaza, and he had my hands in the pocket and he pulled me in. He's like, leaders don't walk like that. Leaders walk fast. Leaders walk with purpose. And these things were like really at the time, like jarring. You're like, okay, like, oh, so, and you rethink it all. But as you reflect on it, like, don't you want somebody in, like, and we talked about like, how do you accept that advice? It's because you've built trust, you have regard and respect. And if you know that person, you're like, well, this, like, what is he possibly getting out of this? He's not doing it in front of people. He's not trying to embarrass me. Like, what are they trying to get out of it? Like, they're not trying to actually get anything but my success. And that will help ultimately him on his team be better at what they do. And so there wasn't any ill intent.
Yeah, I feel like I can relate to him because in my training, I'm a fast person too, right? So I just want to get where we're trying to go. I got a million things to do. And so I often tell our team, if I'm talking to you, if I'm giving you coaching, whether you're receiving it as soft or hard or aggressive or not, it's a good thing, because when I become disinterested in talking to you, you should be anticipating that you're not going to be here much longer. And so did you, coming away, like after the years of working with him, did you come away feeling like he actually cared about you?
100%. And I think so. Like he was the guy that recommended me for the next big job, right? Within the company. And then I went to Vail and flourished there. And then he went to Park City for the big merger of two resorts. And, he called me to come join him again. And it was interesting that time around. Chapter 2 of that story was I went there and I was like, I'm in a bit of a different stage in life, like meaning like how I absorb that type of feedback is different. I have grown. I've gone 2 years without you, and I'm a different type of leader myself. And so, and he knew that, and he said, he's like, listen, it won't be the same as before because of what we're doing. And we are both going to be adjusting through this because it was one of the hardest projects in the history of skiing. And we did, and it was fantastic. And I look at him today, right? He's an incredibly successful guy and one of the best leaders I've ever known. And it was hard to learn, but I chose that. I raised my hand. I wanted the hard work because I wanted more for myself. And he was able to do that.
And it was a fast ascent. It was a quick rise. I would see you go from, did you start in Tahoe?
Yeah.
And then you went to Vail. And then you went to Park City. And then Park City joined with the Canyons.
Yeah.
And then I received a phone call from a headhunter saying, hey, this Davy guy, can you really endorse him? And I'm like, who are you? And what is this about? But it was a serious phone call. And I remember like afterwards you called me panicked because you didn't get a chance to call me and warn me before. Please actually want this job.
I totally remember.
Please, actually take it serious and don't be like, Davy. Like,
well, it was one of those first things. It was one of those first feelings I had. Like, I really wanted that. Like, I wanted the opportunity to lead a team because I was always like to be the ultimate leader of the company, right? Like in the ski industry, like any job, right? You have people that are on your teams that are a couple of levels deep. I was always like 2 or 3 in a kind of a, there was a couple of times I was the leader, but then other times I was a large business, but my scope wasn't the full scope. I always just wanted more. And so I wanted that. I wanted more of like, not for ego. Like honestly, at that point, well, I can say that there was definitely some ego in it, right? But it was more like that's where I'm comfortable. I had, bad leaders over the years. I had one that I was like, I never want to be like that. And one of the things was I want to create an environment where like people like me, and which I think I'm pretty typical, want a really positive culture.
Yeah.
And if I'm the boss, I can create that. Like I can create that image where people feel respected and there's kindness, and that my values could flourish there. And so I wanted that. And so I really, really went after it. And then when it happened, I feel like I am today. I feel like I'm the luckiest guy in the world because I work with amazing people. And I think the thing that, those types of job where you're, it's an experience, you're on the mountains and it's skiing, there's more passion in that product. People love it. People ski.
The lifestyle.
I ski with a guy that was in his 90s, and it's one of those things you can do forever, right? And so when you're around that type of environment, that that type of culture, it creates a different type of leadership because any decision I make that could affect what they love, like a mountain, the freedom of a mountain, like, and you get, hey, like my favorite trail, well, I can't go on that favorite trail or whatever it might be. There's 1,000 things. You have to lead with a very different type of intention because the product like matters to these people, not like changing the recipe of a soup, right? Like it is something major for people.
Don't ski, so all of this kind of sounds elusive to me. Like, what exactly do you do as head of
1,200
ski resorts?
So a ski resort is like, think about it like a little city. You have snow removal, you have security, you have parking, you have garbage, you have you run it like an environment. And so the general manager role is to oversee all of that. And I would say my primary function is to mitigate risk, which I think as leaders all the time, you can look at your business going, mitigate risk to the brand, people's safety, obviously that type of risk because it's a mountain, right? The business itself, mitigate the risk of the business. Like because not everyone thinks of the ski industry as a business, right? People don't see the product that way, but it is a business. And so my job is to mitigate risk as much as possible. And I think that when you ask like what I do, we have teams of people that do different things throughout, from ski instructors to ski patrollers to lift maintenance to vehicle maintenance to housekeeping, like so many different types of teams, and curate the best team possible and create a high performing one. And I think that might be if I would say like, what do I think I do well? I think it's that, like I can create high performing teams, and I've always had an eye for the people side of it. And then when you get everyone aligned, you can create a #1 ski resort.
So I want to put a pin or pause on this word leadership, because if I ever saw a book and it had leadership in the title, it just had a natural aversion to it. And it's not until the last couple of days when I was preparing for this podcast where I started to think and talk to Ash about, why don't I like the word leadership or how to become a better leader? And I think it's because I always saw that word and it seems so heavy to me. That's like, okay, well, that means president. That means CEO of a massive company. That means something political, or like I just associated that word leadership on such a grand scale that it never seemed
attainable to me. And I didn't really think of it as like small business owner or, you know, leading your family or leading your friend group to like better and greater things and healthier lifestyles and all, you know. So I want you, if you would, like, maybe try to step into my shoes as like someone who's like never really liked the word leadership or saw like how I could learn it, because it just seems like it's a personality. You're charismatic, right? You're very engaging. We were at the gym working out this morning, and I introduced him to, you know, some of my friends in the gym and one of our attorneys, and I literally can just say, hey, this is Davy, and then take a step back, and it's done. And he can talk about whatever industry they're in. He can drop in an interesting fact about it. So I do think I've kind of discounted sometimes leaders and leaders like you, because I'm like, well, this is just a personality. Help us understand how it's an actual skill that you can develop.
Well, I think it's like every leader comes in every shape or form you can imagine. And it's funny, I could spend energy and time trying to think of a better word. I think we spend so much, like, there's so many like words out there.
Yeah,
it's the most overused word, and it's like, because it's a good word. Like you could spend time and energy doing it, and there's thousands of books written, ways to redefine what that thing is in its simplicity form. It's like somebody you want to follow.
Yeah,
like that's
just
it. Like,
simplify it.
Like like if like you simplify it ever, like what do you want? Like I want people to follow me. Like if that's my role, I want them to kind of
they're going somewhere.
Yeah, we're all going in this direction, and I'm leading you, right? Like that, like in its simplest form, and you want to be led. I think everybody wants a great leader.
I even find like what you just said, that description, odd, because you are the guy when somebody's going on. I go on vacations, and you're like, you got to go here, and you got to do this, and you got to do that.
Right, I love doing that.
When you're on vacation,
I love curating. I love
you are leading, right? So,
but I certainly don't. But yeah, so maybe it's a fear of like stepping into that role, or
do you have imposter syndrome? Because you're absolutely a leader, Joe.
Yeah, I think that I was just trying to see if I think that's a great for you to just say it's. Do you want to follow this person?
Well, I think it's like if there's a leader of a team, leader of a business, leader of a family, leader, like there's leaders, right, all throughout. And like, yeah, I think it's laughable to think that Joe's not a leader, right? Yeah. Because like what he leads is his environment. Yeah. That's his superpower. You can come in, like I'm at the gym with him this morning. He talked to everybody.
Everybody.
And he's high-fiving
out a little at the gym.
It worked out a little.
Did you? We go around the gym, and I see that, and I'm like, that is his superpower. Like, and you're like, all of those people,
mayor of life,
you're leading, right, in some fashion, right? Like you can't. Yeah, do you make decisions for them? No. Do they rely on you? No. Like, there's different forms of it, but I look at it now and I go, like, ultimately, what am I trying to achieve at work? And the development of people, because when you develop people, then the product at the same time can be developed because they're putting more into it. And so my job is to have people follow. But you've learned so many little things. Let me share one that stuck with me years ago. F1 racing, which Vegas has. I didn't know anything about it. Have you seen the movie? Like I learned about it. Like I know about it. It's a big deal. A lot of money in it. But I didn't know anything about it. And somebody sent me a video clip years ago of, it was like Team Ferrari, a pit stop. And it was like the fastest pit stop in history. It was like 2.8 seconds or something. And I watched it. Car came in.
Oh. You can do better than that.
Zip, 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 zip. Yep. Thank you. In and out. And I was like, what did I just see? I don't even know what happened. And so I had somebody look at it and like slow it down. And so they slowed it down dramatically. And you see that there's 28 people. And they all have a particular task. You cannot tell who the leader is. Is it the guy standing in front of the car that stops it with inches out?
Point.
Is that the leader? Who is the leader in the room? No, can't see them. There are a bunch of people following the task, right? So something's leading it, like winning, right? Championship. And they know exactly what they're doing. And what's amazing about that, when you do it, you see tiny things, like a guy whose whole job, take the wheel off, put the wheel on. That's it. In fact, he only puts it on. I think there's one that just puts it on, and another guy takes it off. And they all have a role on this team to make it work.
Yeah. But every single one is like shaving off a
second, microseconds.
Yeah.
It's just, there was a guy I think he looked over right before the car came in, and it wasn't his section. Like, he's the tire guy, right? But he goes over, and it was like something in his way of the other guy, and he moves it because like that could interfere with him and what he does. And I think I looked at that and I go, okay, what's the objective of this? It's to win the race. It's to get the car out, right? Out of that, that's their job. And then the people on the microphones are telling them when to turn and how to do it. It's all have a role. And I think I looked at it and go, if my talent is creating a high performing team, it's to get that group of people to have a common goal and
Yes.
vision and where to go.
Yeah.
And if I can, they will come in all shapes and sizes. They have different talents, and that's all fine because the end result is what you care about.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like when you hire people or your style of coming in and go, I'm going to come and talk to you. You said it earlier. The worst part is if I'm indifferent, if I like don't care about
Yeah.
you, that is when, and you can do that because you're managing your energy all day, like of where you put it. It's like you're going to put the energy towards the people that can take it and that can go with you. And if they're not them, it's like, it's really, really difficult. And that's why I think that important message of like, you always have to keep raising your hand for more and ask for more and push for more if that's your desire.
Tell me about that, or tell us about that, the raising the hand.
Yeah, I think that was, it was actually somebody else's talk. It was a guy named Jeff at Vail Mountain, and he was just that guy. Like in every meeting, you know, those people you'd be like, there's a thing that needs to get done. And he's like, I'll do it. Just that guy. And Jeff Babb was his name. And I haven't said his name in a long time. Great guy, and just inspiring that way. And so I looked at that and I was like, everybody wants something. Everybody wants more.
So let's just,
but you don't ask
let's
for
just
it.
talk about our injury firm, right? Like you mentioned that everybody wants more, right? We want it. What keeps us from getting it? Is it just not raising our hand?
No, I mean, I think you're raising your hand, but someone's got to call on you. Right. So at the end, like, so there's elements like, so in your case of your business, right, you want more clients coming in, right? But that's not necessarily always up to you. Right. So the desire is there. You're raising your hand. You're letting people know, please come work with us because we think we're good. We think we can serve you better than others. And so, you know, a person on your team is going to help get your message out there more. Your reputation's obviously stellar. People love you, and that's why you've done so well and so successful. So people's experience with you. But if you were, here's the opposite of that, right? If you haven't been raising your hand, then you're not being your best. You're being like, you haven't done it right in your business. So you haven't raised your hand to yourself, right? The concept of raising your hand is like willing to do more.
Yeah.
That's ultimately it.
There's another part of it that I've certainly seen in HR and leading our own firm is you can raise your hand, but you also have to step into the ring, right? So a lot of people will raise their hand. I'll do it. Now tell me what to do, you know? And so I think that something that's helped me along my career is actually observing what the need is, you know, and like stepping into the need. It's not enough to say, I want more, but tell me how to get there. You really have to assess what the business needs and plug that hole, right? And figure out yourself, like, how do I fix this problem that I see as an issue?
Yeah. Let's go back to your hair, Joe.
So I was an early adopter on Rogaine and finasteride, and I researched.
For those of you curious, I mean, as we go throughout this, maybe we can talk about like how we got here, right? So Joe and I have been friends since we were 19. As a long time.
1997.
And I fell in love with him.
To know Joe.
Pretty, it's Joe. This is the same. That's what I love about Joe. Joe's the same.
Unrefined.
The core element of who he is. Let me say,
but I had a Dumb and Dumber pumpkin pie haircut.
He started to lose his hair.
I had a bowl cut.
He started to lose his hair early on.
In Ireland
When we met. And I'd never...
Were you stressed?
I think it was the fact that their milk didn't have all the hormones in it. And so it like, the machine, like putting
Is this scientific?
oil in the radiator.
Well, we were getting stray from the cows. So I thought that's maybe why my body
Most nutritious milk there was.
into his mouth. Joe, I'd never met a guy like that because you have your core group of people. But then I was like, because to be funny about that, we joke about it all the time, but there's a certain maturity. It seems immature, but there's a certain maturity to actually care about it. Obviously, I didn't because I was also losing my hair. I went in a different path. I did not put the work in.
You didn't fight.
I didn't fight, and I gave up.
You embraced it.
I just saw a different guy, right? Like I was like, oh, that's. You know the way you stand out a little bit, like people stand out a little bit, but I was like, latch onto that because it's just different. It's like like you can have your core group of people,
but there is more to it. I did not have like the perfect Bruce Willis head shape like you have, right? You could
That's true.
You could step in as Jason Statham's body double like that.
Yeah,
right?
they'd have taken you.
I looked at my forehead and just thought,
that head.
I looked at my forehead and I thought this is not acceptable.
No, because
It started as a high hairline.
It started high already, like
Yeah.
Too
No.
tall. There's also something about like a tall, skinny man.
But I
being
had a
bald.
little bit of that.
No,
Like,
he had the never-ending story. You had the never-ending forehead.
yeah, like that actor on White Lotus, the new, like I kind of had that.
Yeah.
So everyone's like,
So
you're gonna go
we
bald.
connect on that in Ireland, and I've
both
loved him
balding.
ever since. Yeah, and
Early.
yeah,
Yeah.
From the
yeah. Poor milk, yeah, over there. And I think as I've, as how did I get here? Like Joe and I, and we kind of mentioned earlier, our families have known each other forever. I'm in love with his family, like love him. And I think over the years, he's like that. There's like implicit trust, like except that he shared a text with you that I didn't think he would, but like he only has my best intentions, and there's nothing to gain from each other. We're not at that stage of life, but over the years, he spoke truth to me, sucky hearing it at times, right? But he just, but that's how he loves you, is because he's willing to say it and do it, and it's uncomfortable. The amount of challenging things he said, I'm like, most of your friends are like self-affirming to you, or they're like, tell you, and that's not Joe, but that's his power, right? And because he creates an environment. And, we were talking about that last night. We were talking about work and the style of leader that you are, and the style of leader that you are. And there's probably things that are like, drive you crazy in the styling. But as a combo, that's incredibly valuable to a business like yours, right? Because you're bringing in people. Joe is obviously going to have like this investment of care, right, in what he does. You're going to make sure it's done right.
Yeah.
Right, you're going to get it done,
Very red.
and as the combination, as very red as we talked about that combination, and there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with that. It works, right? And that like you bring your own style of leadership to something, and that's why I don't get worried about the term leadership. I don't worry about it because it means
I can let it go.
Yeah.
And so you just mentioned red. We talked a little bit about the old school personality test: red, yellow, blue, green. What are you?
I've been able to over time flex in
Right, but
ones,
what-
but the
what's your
primary ones
baseline?
are red, yellow.
Okay,
And-
Ash.
All red.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
Deep breath, maroon.
I'm red, yellow, and so speak to us on your ability, or something that I want people to now. This is the part where you're going to want to take a note, or maybe play it back, because I want you to talk about how you can flex different colors for different situations, for different environments. Talk about that.
Yeah, first things you have to somehow manage your ego. That's like it's got to start with that. Like, okay, because you're coming into an environment and you're a certain way, certain style. That's just your thing. You're like, but that is not going to work here.
Use your resorts as an example.
So like in Tahoe, when I went into that resort, I was brand into the ski industry. So, imposter syndrome. I'm not a great skier itself, but I'm like, being asked to do a lot. So how do I do it? So I came in friendly, open arms, yellow, right? That person I could stand on stage,
Turn up the Irish
accent, do all that stuff. And it worked really well. It was really necessary for that environment. And then you go to Vail. Vail is like at the time, like it was the crown jewel, right? It's Vail, right?
People
There's
are
certain
serious
names
about
synonymous
it,
with
yeah.
skiing, Aspen and Vail, like both of those. And I was like, man, this is a step up. This is a big step up. And to do that right, I needed to be smart. I needed to know. I needed to go into a room and be able to hold myself in the room, because it's like these are power players, right? And so blue, like, was like that flexing into blue of data analytics, learning the business so I could talk coherently in a room about things. And so that was necessary, because I wasn't coming in, like I wasn't able to go to change Vail. Like Vail is amazing in and of itself. And then when I went to Park City, it was this combination. It was, you had two resorts, that's become one, and they don't necessarily like each other. And how do you just say it's going to be great?
What were
how do you do
their
that?
colors?
Well, if you look at the resorts, they do have their own colors, right? Like, yeah, like I would say or Park City, that comes across as like, it's Park City. Like it's got that vibe and style. So it's definitely not red, right? It's approachable. That's kind of what you want it to be. But for me, back on my one on that team, I came into it and I was like, I got to be a little bit more direct and red, right? And I have to find a way to do it. So each environment and I think that the thing where we fail sometimes is when you say, I'm not willing to do that. I don't want to do that, right? I am who I am. Like that, as time goes on, like, no, like that will hold you back in being able to create new friends, create new business opportunities, create new opportunity. It will definitely hold you back from a good ranking, right? If in a ski resort world, because you're limiting yourself.
So that's not being fake. That's not being just an imposter. Like that what you'd say, that's leadership, is being able to adjust your style to the environment.
It's the thing that worked for me. And I think it,
You don't think it works across
when
the
we were
board?
talking, I think it, because I imagine doing it with ego. Like I had the ability for right or wrong, and I can say that fairly genuinely, to be self-deprecating, to know my faults. Like I don't mind doing that stuff, because like it's always, I think it's an Irish thing, to be honest, a little bit, but I was able to do that. So you put your ego on the shelf for a while, because you need to take it down every so often, but you put it up on the shelf, and you can do hard things like that, right? And so it starts a little bit, as going back to the original point, it kind of starts with that. But imagine a person with an ego trying to do that. It doesn't come off right. And so,
Well, it's a process, right? Like it's recognizing that your ego is getting in the way. Certainly over time, I've had to, tell myself like, this is, if I were to have an immediate reaction to this, it would be all red, right? But in this moment, what is the goal that I'm trying to achieve?
Yeah.
And if this person can't hear the message as read, and I want to achieve this goal, well, then I'm silly if I'm forcing a scenario that I know isn't going to get me to my end goal. So a lot for me in like leadership has been be smarter, right? Be smarter. If your goal is to get there and the way that you're used to doing it isn't going to get you there, then change the approach.
well, think about it this way too. The red leadership trait is something you portray, and it's also something you receive. Meaning, like when you're out there communicating, like, are you working with another red? How does a red observe, like actually take feedback? How does a red react when it's coming at them, right? Just like a yellow, how does a green and a blue, these other colors, how does that happen when it's coming back to you? And so like imagine the way to explain it, you have 25, you guys have grown 25 employees doing awesome. Imagine if there was 25 Ashes,
That would be intense.
right?
Yeah.
It would be, could it be
all
successful?
50
Yes,
states.
right? Like, because, of what you do, you could be in all 50 states, but what energy does that take? Right? And so there's not one right or wrong. Imagine like when you can curate a team of different leadership styles and abilities that bring different things to the table, like, is that better? And you can, it's easy to be like a well-diverse situation like that will be more successful, pretty well proven out. But ultimately, you also curate on your team more of you, right? Because you need that, because you're like, this is what it takes. I know what it takes. I'm writing the playbook, but I need you guys to all do that too.
Yeah.
Right? In some way, shape, or form. But 25 Joes, right, would be,
We'd have fun.
Butterflies.
We'd have fun. Huh?
we'd have fun.
Have a good time. Like,
Well, it would be sitting around like developing your souls day to day, right? Reading another book. That's what it would be. But could you be successful?
Yeah.
Yes. Could you do a lot of good in the world? Yes. But
yeah.
the combination of things, I think, is where some magic can happen.
Okay.
Oh, we found it definitely. I think you can't have my personality running intake and talking to
Well,
diverse amount of clients.
Then
You
I
just can't do it.
and there was the big quote for me when I was when Ash and I became partners was, fine, if you're gonna have a partner, right? It's very difficult. Like if you can do it on your own, great. You're gonna obviously, you can only blame yourself. If you need a partner, want a partner in business, you have to find somebody with the same values but different strengths. And I undervalued the values part of that most of my career, and also the strengths to a certain extent. And I think that we just arrived at this point in our lives where we finally intersected and realized I can't do what she does, and she can't, and I don't want to, and she doesn't want to. And as long as you keep coming back to the values of we want to grow our people, we want them to come along with us. If they end up leaving us, like you said, hey, that's fine. Like, I hope you go find something better. This isn't going to be a forever job for everyone. But when you come here, we want to make sure that you're better when you leave than you are when you came. Like, that's kind of our fundamental value, right? And we've seen that already in 2 years, and it's been a lot of fun and it's thrilling. My question to you is, what excites you about being now in this role of being over 1,200 people? You've got the Olympics coming in what year?
2034.
That's so exciting.
What is thrilling about, what is the rewarding part of being that leader where everyone looks to you as the face, the personality of Snowbasin, this amazing #1 resort in the country, which is not a small thing. I mean, we say it, but it's actually a massive thing to be voted the #1 when you've got the Park Cities and the Vales and the Aspens.
And they're all great. I've been at them. I ski them all. I think I'm at a stage of life now where and it's going to sound cliche. I know it's going to sound cliche, but I'm going to try to go there.
I thought you were going to say conceited, so cliche is better.
Yeah. As you get older and your life, you start to take on new forms, and you go through ups and downs, and you go through, it's like I start thinking about like, okay, what's my legacy in my own simplest way, right? Like, and for myself, not for anyone. I'm not going to write a book. What do I want? And I've thought about this a lot lately, which is, I think there's a loneliness that comes as you age, just because you fight off of it all the time. You fill your time with other things, and there's a loneliness. And what I hope anyway is that as time goes on, that there's enough people that I've had some measure of impact on,
right,
that I don't feel lonely.
Yeah.
Right. That I'm surrounded by people that know I care, and they know I have their back, and they know they can call me at any time. And and can you do that from a business end? Can you do that in your work? And it's, I always think I go back to little things. I think about like Gandhi, right? Brilliant.
Great guy.
Great guy.
Love him.
Yeah, I was going places. Gandhi's amazing because I look at, here's a guy that came from nothing, right? And his sphere of influence, if he just stayed as he was and didn't take on more mantle, was pretty small. It could have been, but he created a sphere of influence that was so large it stopped the war when he went on a hunger strike. That's the power of that's amazing. I'm not Gandhi, but you have to imagine at the end of the day of Gandhi's life, when when he tragically died, that at least there's this feeling of accomplishment, that like there's some impact of some kind. And or I think you really get lonely.
Yeah.
That you haven't had, those are in your thoughts. Cause we talked about on the way over, it's like at the end of the day, when your careers are done, it's like, do you need a legacy of well, they were just the best litigator of all time, or the best attorney, the best?
No, you really don't. This is making me think of, in my family, I was the first to graduate of 7. I was the youngest of 7. And the only one I could really look to, and there's probably everyone in the family, you're kind of looking around and you're looking for some example of okay, well, they've achieved something and maybe I can learn something from them. That was my grandpa, my mom's dad. And he, he had his whole story of rags to riches, and he went to Harvard Law School, and then he became a judge in San Diego, and then he became an appellate. He moved up the rankings to the point where he ran for mayor of San Diego. He lost to Pete Wilson, but he was just, Pete Wilson went on to become the governor of California. So he just, he was right there at the cusp. He could have, been running for president at some point. He was that charming, that charismatic. He had the Irish thing that he played up. He'd wear the patty cap to court, and on St. Patrick's Day, it was a whole thing where the newspaper would cover it. So he like he used the Irish thing. But the point is he was the only one that I could really look to as an example of hey, there is more out there. You can do this. Did you have that?
Yeah, I did. I had people like that. And it makes me because you could ask it, why are rags to riches stories so, why do we love them?
I know.
Why do we love them? And I think it's because we love them. And I was looking at today, because I was telling Joe in the mornings, I try to shower myself with positivity.
No,
so I'm watching it, we connected on it this morning.
Don't do it. You'll make Ash cry.
I'm showing videos. I'm of a small child hearing for the first time.
God.
And I'm like, Joe, look at this.
We're driving on the freeway. This is bad. We didn't get in a car accident, but we're driving on the freeway, and he's showing me videos that are if you don't cry, you're not human.
Yeah.
It's just,
this is what is in your Instagram feed.
This is, you have to curate happiness sometimes, right? It doesn't just come. And so I was looking at it this morning. I was like, well, I want, because I want to feel good and be hopeful. And I was like, there's good in the world. And so I'm looking at it, and it's military families coming home, small children hearing for the first time, colorblind people seeing color for the first time.
Puts on glasses, he sees color for the first time, and you watch his reaction, and I'm like,
and he's a 66-year-old man, and he became a child. Yeah. A tough guy, you can see it, and he became a child when he saw color for the first time.
That's really about gratitude, right?
And that's that. And I think what I've learned in myself, because my journey I had the chip on my shoulder, the poor Irish kid,
running down.
Yeah, the snot. We
have a photo.
2 T-shirts in high school that I had where a girl pointed out to me, she's like, you wore that shirt yesterday? And I was like,
Davy's people do know.
I was like, because it's my shirt. my shirt, like I have a shirt, like I don't.
It's
so
the
I
only one.
Yeah, and so the rags to riches thing, I think really what it was about is like you see just people grow, right? And like because I look at like there's rags to riches themes in the most basic things of life, right? Mine isn't rags to riches. I don't think I'm like overly successful in that way, but I definitely changed my stars, right? Like if you look at the environment you're born into, there was no way in the youngest of 6 in my family that I was supposed to become a general manager of a ski resort. Like that was not the agenda at all.
Even as much as I saw the leadership in Ireland on a Christian mission, right? I saw you rise the ranks and people just look to you. It's still incredible because do you have those moments where you just kind of go, oh, this is kind of strange. Like the little bit of the, like people look to me and I'm running a small city.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing is like, but you can take a step back and then see other people doing much larger, more impactful things, and it humbles you a little bit. But everyone's just got their own individual story. I'm not comparing.
You're about to like house the Olympics. I'd say that you're like a guy that we can all look at.
Yeah, and the Olympic thing is so fun. Like that part, like who gets to say they did that, right? Like that's super cool.
Amazing.
That'll be one word, and I hope the team I have now are all kind of excited for it. But I think I've learned to be happy with that like level of growth, because for the longest time, like you go through the imposter syndrome of the small, like, so my story, if I can just share like briefly. So I'm the youngest of 6. My dad's the oldest of 13. He left school when he was 11 to take care of the family and worked. Never had a formal education, but still one of the smartest men I've ever met. Very book smart. But we're in Ireland. I'm the youngest of 6. Things happen at that point to my sister marries an American, and we have an opportunity to come to America and get green cards and come. And I have to think of my dad, like, I'm the youngest of 6 and he's going to take on that. Like he didn't have the, he didn't, he knew what he was getting into. He made a choice. No, I'm going to come to America and it's going to suck. Like I'm a big man here in Ireland, tough guy. I'm respected. We all don't have educations, but I'm equal here. That's not what he's going to feel when he comes to America. He knew that and still did it for us, for me. And when we got here, we hustled. I remember we moved eventually out west. That's how we got to the Utah Western kind of connection. We got into this apartment. It was a 2-bedroom apartment.
Oh my gosh.
And it was my mom and dad in one room. My sister got the other bedroom. My brother Stephen had the couch. My brother Garrett and I shared a mattress in the corner. Now I'm 13. But Garrett's 18. Like he says, so we're sharing a bed every night and
sharing a corner
and a mattress in the corner. And Steven said, and that was our life. Right. And so I'm going and I come to America. I'm in Utah, which is, financially successful. People are in a good spot. And, I think if I'd have gone somewhere else where I'd been like, everyone's like this, right? Like we're all kind of just hustling.
I remember your dad one time, like quipping Angela's ashes.
Yeah.
He's like, that guy's life was a cakewalk.
He read Angela's ashes like, well, I could write a book. Like he's immediately like going down that road. And I think you all have that. And I had that at my level, right? And but then you hear stories like, oh my gosh, like it's not like it was hard, but come on, like it wasn't that hard. And I went into high school and didn't understand how poor I was compared to everybody else, and had some situations, got bullied like crazy. And I think that had an effect on me of like, I have a very big justice complex. I don't let people do that anymore to anybody. But I went through that and then went to college, met Joe, went to college, started our family. And, just, I don't know what it was. Like, I think I got into sports. I built my first like big job. I was always in leadership roles. I ran that shoe store.
Your first big break was Real Salt Lake, the MLS.
I thought I was going to go into psychology. One of my degrees is in psychology, and I thought that's what I was going to do. But then I knew I didn't have my heart was a little too big, and I'd take it home. I knew I would.
But you've used it, right? I mean,
I've absolutely used it. Right. Yeah, and you use it all the time. I'm sure you guys do too. Like aspects of it at least. But my first big break is I got a job. Major League Soccer was bringing a team to Utah, and I was brought in to help build that and get it up and going, and that was awesome.
And you did, and they won.
Yeah, we won the championship. Yeah,
that you fell into this kind of like sporting life, right? I think that's super interesting. Like, how do you fall into that?
It was again I was in marketing, advertising, and I did branding for companies all over the world, and it was amazing. very creative, which I loved, and the, you know, also business, which I really loved. Like I could kind of see that. And then that was just random, to be honest with you. Like somebody was like, I like the way you think, you're Irish, you do know the sport, you play the sport.
Back then you had hair, you looked like Russell Crowe, Gladiator.
I can't.
Gladiator was still kind of.
I can't.
Yeah, I was channeling the Caesar cut from Gladiator as best I can. And yeah, that's right. That's what I said every morning when I woke up.
It's all right. We're gonna give you a pass.
So I think what was great about that business though, like I'm around idols. I met David Beckham, and
you met Tommy Cruise.
Yeah,
he charmed you.
David Beckham was like truly is like one of those. He's the most famous guy I think I ever met of everybody I've met, and the kindest.
Oh, jeez.
Like I
David
tell everybody
called
that.
me after, and he was so taken in. I'm like, this is just what he does to people.
No, his
Davy's
documentary.
Like,
No,
Davy's like, no.
You can tell he's
genuine guy behind the scenes. No one's looking, and he's going over just random people. He's like, like he talks to you.
He's
He's
too
curious
good looking to be that kind.
No, and he's that good looking. He's the real deal. I am like I really blown away by people like him. And yeah, so you're in the world of soccer and you're doing all the, like, it's super fun, right? But it's a bit of a young man's game, and we had eventually, you know, 4 kids. And I'm a big family guy, and I love spending time with my family. And I remember, you know, we were in the hospital, and my phone's blowing up, and there was no respect for that, right? Like, you know, we're there having a baby, and so I made a mental note. I had one of those jobs, as like the popular jobs, like it's cool, right? But it wasn't easy, and it was like I'm gone a lot, and it was hard. But I think I think I just made, at that point, I made a mental decision that I was open to shifting gears. And there was throw that intention out there. I wasn't going to go seek it, but like I'm open. Like this isn't the end all be all. And while it's big, and while there's a lot of, you know, eyeballs on it, and you're on TV a lot and all of that stuff, and that can be attractive, it's not healthy long term.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, that was what it was for me. And so I, you know, became open to it. And a week later, randomly a recruiter for the ski industry called. And that's how they'd heard about things I'd done. And
so I think this is, you're going to be, I have a memory where it's like short term, not great. Long term, I'll remember like little details where I'm observing. And I remember, Ash, observing Davy. He took me to a Real Salt Lake, my first MLS, only a MLS game I've ever been to, but they were doing amazing. It might have been the year that they won the championship. And Davy is not working, but I learned a valuable lesson watching him that night, because he didn't turn it off and on. Like he wasn't like, oh, well, I'm just going to enjoy this and not worry about the stadium and if this goes smooth, because terrible luck for the person next to us. This guy chucks a water bottle on the field, and I see Davey. He's in it, but he snaps into like full blown, like, okay. And this guy's just trying to hide and act like, you know, hopefully nobody saw him. So Davey goes over there, and he's gone, and he points at the guy, and he goes like this. He does the like really, like he's a bouncer now at a New York club, and I'm like intimidated. I'm like, if I'm that guy, I'm gonna run over you right now here. And the guy, you know, and he comes, grabs him by the collar, walks him up and out of there, and then he came back, and there's, did I miss anything? And I'm just like, oh, did you set that up? Was that a friend? Like, was that a plant? You know, but
it's my cousin.
It was right after that. Davy's like, you fell for that so hard. Right after that, he gets a call from Tahoe, and that's when I start to go, oh, this guy knows how to leapfrog. And so he went as far as he could, and then somebody noticed that kind of leadership where he was all in. And you made sacrifices with your family, I think, when you were...
Yeah, I think, you know, there was one thing that really struck me, and this is that guy, the fast or slow guy, said when we were being recruited, he said, and I never even considered it, because I was in Utah, and I thought about Utah maybe a different way, but he's like, if you have a chance to raise your family in the mountains, you should take that.
Oh, wow.
There's something about that, and I would totally know what he's talking about. And it'd be weird now.
What is it about?
I think there's just a pace to it, and there's a, like, when you wake up, you know, and there's nothing against, like,
everybody in Las Vegas just went, thanks a lot.
That's why everyone's moving to Utah.
Yeah.
It is like, it's wildly successful there. I think that's part of it, because when you're, you know, you can have it, you know, a tough job, but a tough job in an environment like that is a little bit more.
Yeah. There's a recognition of what matters more.
And I did, and we did, and I lived in some amazing places and experienced some amazing things in the ski industry because of that. Skied now all over the world. And I think, you know, those experiences, where in my case, you know, my kids, like, you talk about work-life balance, that's another one. Like, I hate that word, work-life balance. Well, that's kind of like, again, it's not maybe a better word out there, because for me, with working that hard and building your career and asking for more and raising your hand, it does take its toll. I think what was helpful, where I think I have some amazing, well-adjusted kids, is they could do it with me.
And they work at the resorts.
They work at the resorts. They use the product. They see that in that environment, and I connect with them in that way. So work-life balance for me is actually quite easy, in the sense that,
because it's like all one.
It feels, and it works. It is hard to turn off. Like when you have an eye to detail though, and that's like, you're good at that, like it's hard to relax in that environment. And so like when I go have fun, I ski at another resort. I don't, because when I'm at Snowbasin skiing around with our team, you see things and it's like, okay, that doesn't work. I was up there the other night and we were at a big event, and the team, it's hard. They were getting crushed because it was so popular, and I'm in this, and I'm there as a consumer, and I was like, I gotta relax. But you want to jump in and help the team. That's the point, right? You're like, it's hard to unplug that. So that's not where I go for fun, because it's hard for me to see. And it's the same thing at Real. I'd go to a game and I'm like, oh, this is like, I couldn't turn it off in the thing that I was like responsible for.
Kind of curious about the clientele and the environment of being in the sports industry. Have you guys seen 1923?
Yeah.
There's that clip of the really awful man watching the guy ski down the mountain.
Yes.
He's just like,
yeah,
you underestimate what men will pay for entertainment and adrenaline.
Yeah.
And so I'm just kind of curious, like, what the clientele is like when you're working in
I compared it this way. The world of football or soccer has fans, and they're, raving and raging,
rabid.
right? That, and you see it and feel it, is nothing compared to the ski industry.
Really?
Yeah.
It really is a lifestyle.
It is because like at the end of the day, those people in the stands are yelling and screaming, maybe at one point could play football, but they're now in the stands. They're, it's the man in the arena speech, right? Like, kind of look at it, but like in skiing, everybody's in the arena. Like that is their like they're all there, and that environment is, that's what I mean. Like it is one of those things. Like I spend more time on like the guest side, and we do stuff really well at Snowbasin. Like we like genuinely care. Like we don't hold back train to open, or like we do everything we can to make it the best experience possible from beginning to end for our people. That's our job, right? To the outward facing expression, like mine is to mitigate risk, but also to deliver on that kind of experience of a lifetime. That's what you want to do. And so you do that all day long, but yeah, people, that love of mountain and environment, when you disrupt that because it's so soothing for some, or energy for others, or exhilarating for some,
Restorative.
Restorative. Everyone has this passion that I did not estimate at all. And I built a house in the highest, I didn't realize this, the highest percentage of season pass holders possible.
Oh, geez.
So I built a
can't get away.
house and immediately, and it sounds like, it's like, okay, install the complaint box in the yard.
Yeah, that's what I was
Like,
saying. Your
it was
mailbox is like the comment box.
Oh, my poor kid.
Cross-country ski to
My kids in school was like, you're dead. And it was like, it's a big fish in a small pond, because I manage and run the thing that is their highest form of entertainment and love of passion that they can do.
Their families.
It connects families, and it's generations. It's 85 years old.
Yeah.
And so you're managing something that is, it's not a product like that. It's something else. It's an experience. And so
what part of your personality do you think leaders saw in you to pull you into two industries like that,
At such a young age.
to serve those people?
yeah, because I'm not like there's also the wealth side of it. The thing about skiing, there's extreme wealth on certain ends, and then people that are just trying to get out there, like you're talking, the ski industry can attract some
Very wealthy.
very wealthy people, and
Yes, you're not wealthy. You don't know how to ski.
yeah. So I think I can look from beginning to end from a person. Like I can go have a conversation with the most. I told you one of my favorite things to do in Vegas, and I genuinely, is to ride and get in taxis, because I love.
Seriously? I didn't see that.
Oh, I love talking to taxi drivers. Love it, because I have some freakish things that I do. I love learning about people, and I at one point knew I memorized all capitals of the world.
What's the capital of Mongolia?
Ulaanbaatar,
Madagascar,
Antananarivo,
Bolivia,
La Paz.
Okay, we can go ahead. Just made it.
So
why did you do this?
So back to my childhood, my dad didn't, he, one of the first books I was ever given was Winston Churchill's History of the English Speaking Peoples. I was like 8. I was 8. My dad, like, again, we didn't have the typical education. So we'd sit at the dinner table and to me and my brother Garrett, and he'd say countries. And that's where his intelligence came from, reading and newspapers, and he was well versed in world things. And then I the way it is, right? Like something that is kind of quirky, and then it becomes kind of like a passion. As then I just start like looking at the maps, and so I remember.
Well, and before you say that story, so much so that I mentioned somebody said the word Chernobyl, and I said, "What's Chernobyl?" And this guy laid into me like I had a second grade education. He's like, "You don't know what Chernobyl?" And so
is that what I ate last week at the restaurant? Was Chernobyl? A side of Chernobyl?
You were so mad at me, but go ahead.
I think is more like it's like I had no idea that
worst like place that you could not know.
I know, it was just
and make a joke about.
Yeah, the people of Chernobyl.
Well, you have friends.
It's too soon for Chernobyl jokes. I think I had these like weird thing. I wasn't like, the things I did, the activities I did, it was outside of center for Utah, right? Maybe. And so when I come here and I'm talking to someone from, all of a sudden, I'm like, where are you from? Somalia. Oh, like what's Mogadishu like? Have you been there? Like, and then I can just talk. And so, and I love it. I genuinely love it. Like, what am I getting out of that? Like, I love it. Like, I love it because then I can hear, and it was a tactic. It was actually to the airport in Salt Lake. And I said one, I can remember which one. And then we were talking about the history, the politics, and the genocide that happened in that one environment. I'm like, wow, it's way more than I bargained for in this conversation. But I love it. Like, I think I just had that general.
Do you love the fact that we all want to be seen, and then knowing that those people are likely to be less seen than all of us maybe in our professional
circles? I will say, like, when I can go deep on a country with someone and a little bit, like, they know I care. Like, there was a guy, it was Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, if you're curious, but like, I am Ethiopia, and when I was a kid in Ireland, like, they were going through their famine, and the people of Ireland, having gone through a famine, were very, it meant a lot. And so we were out raising money for the kids in Ethiopia, like for $1 a day, the box. I did that whole thing. It's called the Trokra boxes back in there. I remember it vividly. So I'm in, talking to this guy from Ethiopia, and then we started talking about the famine, and we were just going back, and I was like, I can think about I went around door to door for your country when I was a kid, like 8 years old, like doing that. And for him, the fact that I knew he had a famine, first off, the fact that he knew the capital, that's cool. The fact that I knew that he had a famine, the fact that I knew that I'd like try to raise money for him, we were bonded at that point because he's driving every day. Somebody took a minute, and that's what the thing is. Like, don't you want to it sounds bad, but like I like that. Like, I like the way I feel after that conversation, and like we look at it and go like, I don't know how people miss the opportunity like to talk to somebody or have a kind thing to say or learn, because like it's a drug. Like, it's the best drug of all time for me anyway, and I don't know for everyone, but I leave and I'm like, I'm good. Like, I feel like I enjoyed that. Like, I got something out of it.
You're energized.
Yeah. So like I think it works. So we were talking about like leaders that like one of the best feelings we talk about, when you're lonely and life goes on, like, do you have those people around you that you had some impact on? Some of the best things in the world is when at a company is when you sadly, best and sad in the same sense, when you sadly lose a good person, but it's because they're going on to better things.
Yeah.
And that is, I remember, there's a guy right now, if you ever hear, I'll send it to him, Adam Hawes. This guy was a freakishly talented, came into Tahoe, very big in the social space, influencer. And I remember it was, I remember so many things about him. He's vegan, and I was exposed to all of this thing with him. It's just a great guy, talented, but you could tell he was like, he could just do so much more. And when he left, and he was like, I think it was, hey, I'm going, and I was like, well, what's the thing? And he goes, well, I'm going on tour with Rihanna.
Oh, jeez.
Serious?
And then I was like, what?
Doing what?
And he's like, I'm going to be following our social media for a year on tour, and they're going to be paying me more than you make. And I was like,
did he say more than you?
Yeah, because he knew. It was brilliant. And I was like, that's unbelievable. Like, at that point, don't you just want to go? And he was thankful. He's like, so much what you did. And he was just gracious. And I was like, bro, like, I'm so proud of you. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then I think, now that dude was like, if you see him now, the vegan kid now eats meat all day long. No offense, vegan meat, but he's he's just ripped. And he does Spartan races and a champion in Spartan.
He didn't
races.
stop. He just kept.
The dude is a beast, and it's awesome, right? Like, isn't it fun to like?
Well, that's why
That's why I'll totally own the fact that I'm selfish, like, and I'm selfishly doing it. A great one for me, and I've told this story a few times. It's a guy that works for me, Ryan Woolsey. I didn't know his name was Ryan for like 2 years. He's Woolsey. It's Woolsey. He's just known as Woolsey. And he's the mountain. He's the guy that runs the mountainside, right? He's the mountain operations director. And you got a base area, and you have all these different leadership roles, but he's the top guy for the mountain. And he'd been on ski patrol. He had done all these things, and I when I got there, I had him in a role, but I was like, immediately, I'm like, this is the guy. Like, he's the guy that's meant to do this. But there's certain things to learn to get to that type of role. And so I said, hey, do you trust me? Like, we're going to take you out of this and put you in here. This is the better thing for your leadership development and growth. And it was 2 years of that, bless his heart, and he did it. But when the opportunity came, he was the right guy for the job. And I knew that this dude had his family's from the area, born and raised on that mountain, knows every inch of it. This is the job he wanted since he was a child. Like, this is what he wanted. And I knew that. And selfishly, I'm like, I got the offer letter, and he came in the office. He had like, at the timing, I just kind of took him offhanded, right? I was like, hey, can you come in for a minute? Come in. And I said, hey, listen, I need to talk to you, but first I need to talk to you and Amy. Can you call your wife? And he's like, yeah. I was like, it's cool. Like, do you mind calling your wife? And he gets her on speaker. I was like, hey, Amy. He's like, Amy, hey, I'm sorry, I'm here with Davy. He wants to talk to both of us. She's like, okay. And then I pushed the offer letter in front of him. And I took a step back. And he's like, it went quiet. He's reading it, and he sees what's happening, and he's freaking out. And Amy's like, honey, you there? And I'm just quiet. Now, I will cherish that moment forever.
Why did you do that?
Because I'm selfish. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, are
you not listening?
I really, like, I'm not anything, like, I'm